Hello, I'm back. Kieran from Speaking Spurs, talking all things Tottenham, and just an apology that I wasn't round for the last few days. I'd have loved to have come back to you guys with the talk about the exciting 3-2 victory over Manchester City in the Premier League. I've had a really hectic few days. I'm actually off work this week to dive into a few projects, and that actually means I'm going to be doing videos for you pretty much all week. So that's good news in itself. And it's handy because we have a midweek game this week. But look, the frustration that I have with this is, I said before the game, we are a bogey team for Man City, and, I genuinely thought we would beat them, and that happened again. We've had some key victories against Man City over the years. We've gone and done it again. Now, my problem is that we had to go through 3 defeats in the Premier League, one being Chelsea, which we saw coming anyway. But, the games against Southampton and Wolves were certainly winnable games. And this is the kind of frustration, because if you think about it, if we beat both of them, that's 6 points. And if we were to lose to Man City, so we'd actually be in a better position in the Premier League had we picked up points in those games and not beaten Man City. But then, on the flip side, would we have beaten Man City had we won the other 2 games? It's one of those things where hindsight is a great thing, but you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it was the disappointment of the run we were on in the Premier League, going up against Manchester City. We know we have a good record recently, and there was a lot for us to go into that game and prove ourselves, really. Some fantastic performances. Harry Kane, obviously, instrumental from start to finish in that game. What can I say? It was a Kane performance that we've seen over recent years. It was incredible. It was like he was on a different level, back to his best in terms of passing, energy, finishing. It was just a vintage Kane performance. Obviously, Sonny is somebody that's always a thorn in their side, and it was just great to watch, and hopefully this can kickstart the season back into gear, because we've still got the possibility of breaking into that top 4 and really laying down a marker to say, look, Tottenham Hotspur are not done and dusted, and this will be the start of Conte's project officially, if you will. So, let's talk about the game itself. Obviously, we went 1-0 up. We're playing really well, some good counter-attacking football. We were very quick on the break. The goal itself, there was a little bit of worry in it for me on Son's point of view. Obviously, he's not been playing his best recently. His runs against Manchester City were incredible, but the goal, there's a lot of credit that has to go to Ben Davies, who played a really nice driven pass into Kane, who then hits it first time beautifully round the corner for Sonny to run onto. The pass didn't even have to be amazing. It just had to be in a good area. No pinpoint about it, because Sonny's got the pace to run onto it. He's bearing down on goal, and all I'm thinking is, why hasn't he shot yet? Why hasn't he shot yet? Then he hesitated, and then he saw Kulusevski and played the ball across, and as calm as you like, Kulusevski slots it into the back of the net. First time, no problems, through the legs. So that was a lovely, lovely team goal. There was a lot of great play within Spurs. I remember the big moment that Kane had where Ederson rushed out and saved it with his leg. The build-up play for that was sensational. Players involved constantly, a lot of 1-2s, Bentancur making his way up the pitch. It was worthy of a goal. It was a beautiful piece of play. It was almost like watching a Liverpool or a Man City in that moment. Really happy with that. Obviously, they got themselves back into the game. And kind of an error from Lloris, but at the same time, I get why it didn't go as well. The ball's been played in. He's come out to an extent. He's under a bit of pressure from De Bruyne coming in, which I think puts him off. I think what happened, I was listening to Shay Given talking, and he was saying what to him it looked like has happened is Lloris has gone down to try and make the save, and at the last second he's seen the movement of De Bruyne, and that has made him take his eye off the ball for just a split second, and that was enough for him to misjudge it. It then hits his midriff, pops back out into a dangerous position, and Gundogan puts it in the back of the net. The disappointing thing about that is it was another one where we were just slow to react after the ball. I know it happens very quickly, but the fact was it was still a free man inside our box. And the one thing you're always taught as a striker is always gamble. Now, my argument would be if the striker is always told to always gamble just in case the ball pops out or it goes past the defender who's jumping up for a header, as a defender, you should always gamble. Expect that the goalkeeper's not going to save it cleanly. You need to be aware. Don't leave unmarked men as a shot's being taken or a cross is being put in. Don't do it. It's dangerous. So that was the disappointment in that from both aspects. Obviously took the lead again. Lovely goal. Son and Harry Kane combo. Back on it. Through this game, they've actually gone level for the all-time combinations in the Premier League for goals and assists for one another. Lovely goal. Beautiful ball put in. Kane takes it on the half volley. He actually burst into the box to get to this one. On the half volley, top corner of the net. Ederson, no chance whatsoever. He didn't really bother extending himself for that one at all. I think he knew exactly where that one was going. We obviously had the goal ruled out, another Harry Kane goal. That was great play again. Ben Davies hit a beautiful cross-field ball straight to Kulusevski. He does his little bit. Ball ends up at Kane's feet, turns the defender, pops it in the back of the net, only for it to be ruled out for offside against Kulusevski. That was correctly ruled out. Man City, very, very late in the game, get themselves back on the score sheet to level the game. And you're thinking, I know Man City had had all the possession, but we've done our job tactically. Everyone was switched on. They do get the penalty. There are some people saying that they weren't convinced 100% it was handball. I can tell you for now, 100% that is handball. It's not so much when people are saying the unnatural position, because it's not unnatural in a sense because he's sliding. But in my opinion, when he went to ground, his hand is actually up here. Now, for me, when you're sliding, that is a natural position. What he then does at the last second is puts his hand in front of his face and then makes a downward motion to almost hit the ball. And when you see it in slow motion, it's not his arm. It's not a natural pace. It doesn't follow the same trajectory. It kind of goes like this to this and then this. So there's like 3 movements within that, and that's why it's been given, because he's made an effort that when he knows it's going to hit his hand, he doesn't just let it hit his hand. I think there'd have been a different argument if he was protecting his face and nothing more. But the movement he makes with it is to punch the ball further enough away so it doesn't fall back to the feet of a Man City player. And that's why it's given as a penalty. The penalty itself, credit to Riyad Mahrez. Beautiful penalty. The guy's on fire at the moment. Lloris went the right way. He was just never going to get to it because there was so much pace and power on the ball. Great strike. And then Spurs go and do it again. Some more great play. Kulusevski on the wing, cuts back inside. Beautiful ball. Harry Kane, there's the man up against Kyle Walker, nods it into the ground, into the back of the net. And there we have it again, another late goal. So we've seen late goals past 90 minutes this season. Davinson Sanchez got one. Then obviously Steven Bergwijn scored his goals against Leicester. And now Harry Kane pitches in with a really important goal against Manchester City. If only we could go to the 95th and 96th minutes in every single game this season, we'd be laughing. But look, it was a great performance man for man. So what we'll do, we'll go through the team and we'll do their player ratings. So Hugo Lloris, he only comes away with a 6, and that's because he did spill the ball under pressure out to Gundogan. Like, he just didn't deal with it the way he should. He didn't really have much to do in the game, which is why it's hard for him to get a great score. But he did make that one world-class save. Again, from Gundogan, it was that curler from the edge of the box. He sees it late, full stretch, great save, goes to ground. He actually injures himself a little bit in the process, but I think it was more an impact injury because he was fine for the rest of the game. And in the team news coming up for Burnley, there's no reports of any further injury to that. So that's why he comes away with 6, because he made a mistake. He then made an amazing save, but didn't have much else to do. And that is credit to our defence. I thought they were superb. Now, let's talk about the defence. Romero, I was going to give him a 9, but I dropped it down to an 8 because of the handball, because in my eyes, I know, looking at it, it was intentional. And that's his age. I think he was hoping that he would get away with it. But throughout the game, like without the handball, for me, he gets a 9 all day long. He made loads of interceptions, like brilliant defending, crucial late clearance in front of our own goal. You know, he gets that slightly wrong, and that's in the back of our net. He misses it, it's in the back of our net. Crucial, and Lloris gave him a massive slap on the back afterwards to say well done. Now, that's the Romero we love, those things. He just needs to take those little... I know it's going to come with age and experience. He just needs those to come out of his game. Ben Davies comes away with a 9. I thought he was excellent. I couldn't really fault him at all. I can't think of any moments in the game where he did anything that we can really say was wrong. Obviously, we spoke about the first goal. Great driven ball into Kane. It was quick distribution, accurate pass, good pace and power on it. So he was important for that. Made a great block to deny Phil Foden in the first half. Then that crossfield ball to Kulusevski when he was offside. But still, you can't take away from the fact that it was an absolutely worldy of a pass. Made loads of clearances throughout the game, a load of tackles, and I would argue this is one of his best performances in a Spurs shirt. And with Dier back in the squad as well, it obviously balanced the defence, and it made Davies even better because he knew he could be confident in the defenders that he was there with. And also, like, Sessegnon was out wide left, and you know, I think that made Ben Davies step up a little more because it's an important game, and Sessegnon hasn't had the easiest ride since he's been at Spurs. So Davies, under a lot of pressure, I think did very well. Now let's talk about that man. Eric Dier, back in the squad finally. He comes away with a 9 as well. I just think the defence looks so much better with him in the squad. His organisation, his conversation, very little got past him. Good in the air, good with the ball at his feet. It just made everyone feel calmer in that back line. Like, he's at a decent age now. He's been at Spurs for a long time. He's very well respected, and I think it shows on the pitch. And for all the doubters that there were that kind of made... I think Dier's been a bit of a scapegoat at Spurs when things are going wrong. It's easy to blame his mistakes rather than what else is going on around the pitch, because if mistakes weren't made further up, he wouldn't be in a position to make mistakes. So look, I'm happy to see him back, and I'm glad he put in a great shift. Now moving on to the midfield. So we go on the right with Emerson Royale. He comes away with a 7. Final ball and an ability to shoot is still not really there. But in this game, that wasn't what they were really there for. Obviously, we know City like to get forward. They have a lot of possession. And I actually think he defended well. He was very disciplined in his role. He took a knock late on in the game, so had to come off. Ryan Sessegnon on the other side, big opportunity for him. He comes away with a 7 as well. I think he worked really hard. He played his part in the build-up to the second goal. And then when he was finally substituted near the end, he had a long trudge once again all the way around the pitch, this time under better circumstances because he played well. Unfortunately, we're 2-2 at the time, but by the time he just got round, he was there to watch Harry Kane put that ball in the back of the net to win the game. So a much better note to walk over to the bench this time. I will also say that he defended really well at times, and Sterling started off up against him and then had to switch to the other side because he just wasn't getting any joy. So that's credit to Sessegnon there. In the middle, Højbjerg comes away with an 8. He did give the ball away a few times, but as I've said, I think our midfielders are taking more risks deeper than they normally would. And against a team like City, who press manically all over the pitch, you've got to expect that some of the passes are going to go straight to them because they're working us very hard. But himself, he worked really hard, drew loads of fouls. He was really important in that. The City players and the fans were actually getting really wound up, not just with his tackling performance, his interceptions, but he kept going down and staying down for periods of time, allowing Spurs players to catch their breath. And I think this is really important. It genuinely helped us to take on fluids, and just get our heads around it, because City, as you know, have loads of possession and will create and come at you. So good on him there. Bentancur comes away with an 8 as well. Some excellent touches within this game. Some big moments where he was flying into tackles. Some sloppy passing as well. But as we've said with Bentancur, that could be a key theme because he does like to move the ball very quickly, sometimes too quickly. But, you know, a big performance from him up against Manchester City. So settling in nicely. Kulusevski. or as they're calling him, Decky, or that's what Conte does. He comes away with a 9. I thought, considering his age of 21, I know he had good experience being at Juventus, but was in and out of the side for much of last season. I actually think, a really good performance. And it was annoying because a lot of the fans have already written off Kulusevski based on, a game and a bit. And I thought that was absolutely disgusting. You're writing off a 21-year-old that has just come to a new country after playing at Juventus, obviously one of the biggest clubs in world football, and you're writing him off because he hasn't hit the ground running. I'm sorry, he's young and it's a brand new league. Like, some players take a season and a half to gel in, and he's been thrown right in at the deep end in a club that is underachieving and has struggled. I thought he was excellent. His work rate was really good. He obviously got his first goal, took it really well, and that was only his second touch of the game. And I will tell you, the first touch of the game was kickoff. He was the one that took that. So this is the second time he touched the ball. He took it first time, slotted it coolly between the legs, and I thought that was really composed at that moment in the game. It was so early in the game. He got up and down the wing really well. His cross for Kane's winner, pinpoint, brilliant. Look, I'm not going to say it was a perfect game from him, but considering he's up against Manchester City, I thought it was a really, really good showing. A high-pressure game on the back of poor form as a team, and he can do that. So both of the new guys, I think, impressed really well. They look like they're settling in. Let's talk about Sonny. Sonny had a good game finally, comes away with a 9. City hate playing against Sonny. He causes them loads of problems. Usually is the guy to be putting the ball in the back of the net, but he turned creator in this game. He made some really good runs and beat the offside trap 4 times. It was a bit of a strange one because I actually think City were too high, which allowed the space. I think they relied way too much on the pace of Kyle Walker, but obviously he's not going to be able to do that all game. As he's defending and we're pressing a lot, he's got the job of getting up and down the pitch, whereas Sonny doesn't. His main role is just to, close down and press a little bit and make those runs, whereas Walker has to get up and down throughout the game. So we saw Sonny beat him a few times. He obviously set up Kulusevski for the first goal. His cross for Kane's half volley, excellent. He ran his absolute socks off. So big credit to him. I'm really happy to see him back in good form. And Sonny's one of these players that once he has a good game, he tends to go on a little bit of a run. So fingers crossed. Now let's talk about that man up top, Harry Kane. Now this is the first time I'm giving out a 10 in a player ratings, and he deserved it. Not because necessarily it was a 10 out of 10 performance. If he'd have done that against, a weaker team, maybe not a 10 out of 10, but the fact that it was against Manchester City with the best defence in the league, top of the league, everything they've done, the fact that he was linked with them in the summer, he's had a poorish run in Harry Kane standards, but a first time ball for Sonny for the first goal, absolutely beautiful, just round the corner. He made loads of beautiful passes throughout this game. He was back to his creative best. He bust an absolute gut to get into the box for the half volley from Sonny's cross. He had a big chance that was denied by Emerson. The goal was as well, and that was a lovely, lovely team move. Then he had the goal ruled out by VAR correctly because of the Kulusevski offside. Then he had that late header. But yeah, vintage Kane performance, back to his best, and hopefully that continues. Now let's talk about the substitutes. Lucas Mora comes away with a 6, so he was only on for the final 10 minutes, but he used his pace to kind of keep City wary of the threat there. Doherty, no need for a score. He came on so late, and that was only because Emerson Royale picked up a knock. Davinson Sanchez was pretty much brought on to just shore us up for the last few minutes and see out the victory, which he did. Let's talk about bits of the game then in terms of City. So they had a lot of possession. We hit them on the break, really. They didn't make the most of their chances. I think our defence just threw themselves at everything. The organisation was great. The passion was great. Everyone worked for one another. I do think City's defence was a bit too high up, and I can't believe that Pep didn't change that once he realised how much of a threat we were. They relied on Walker way too much to get them out of trouble. And, for once, we actually took our chances. We created more chances than, we actually had more shots on target than Manchester City did, which is unbelievable considering the amount of possession they had and the amount of play. But we took our chances. That's not often that we say this, that we took our chances. Fantastic. And on a different day, Kulusevski stays on side and Harry Kane comes away with a hat-trick. But, I think he shut up his critics there. We can't not talk about Conte's reaction to that winning goal. It's just brilliant. And if you haven't seen it, I urge you to go and have a look at it. Just type in Conte reaction to City winner or whatever. He instantly turned around, sprinted towards his coaching team, jumps up really high on top of poor Ryan Mason, celebrates with them, and then goes over the first row of seats to then jump on Joe Rodon. Strange. Don't know what it was, but he's just such a passionate guy. And to the point, when he was doing his post-match interviews, he could barely talk. It was a long, long time before he came out for his official press conference. I think he probably spent a chunk of time with the players, come out, done all the little interviews, and then had to do that. His voice sounded shattered. So, yeah, great day. There are your player ratings. There's a little bit of a summarisation. Now let's talk about Burnley, the next game coming up, which is tomorrow night. So team news. No, we won't do team news. We'll talk about Harry Kane quickly before we move on to Burnley. So in a season where we actually think Harry Kane is not playing anywhere near his best, right? He's played 22 games in the Premier League with 7 goals. FA Cup, he scored 3 goals. League Cup, 1 goal. In Europe, he has 6 goals. So he's played 34 games in total for Spurs this season and still has 17 goals. That is a goal every 2 games. Now for, most teams, they would be happy to have a striker putting the ball in the back of the net once in every 2 games. Obviously with Kane, he's set such high standards over the last few years at Spurs, well, in fact his whole career at Spurs really, since he broke into the first team, that we expect so much more, and this is seen as a poor season for him. I think he had a slow start, but he's really kicked into gear now. He's getting better game by game. So I just thought I'd mention those stats there. But yeah, for the Burnley game, let's talk about a bit what Conte said. He was talking about Ryan Sessegnon, saying he has the possibility to be an important player. He's young, strong physically and fast. He's got a good engine and good resilience. He has good quality. Sometimes feels pressure. He's only really played important games under Conte this season, apart from the Europa Conference League one. In the Premier League and Cups, he's played against Liverpool, Chelsea, City. And Conte said that means I trust him. He obviously commented on the fact that he took him off after 30 minutes in the previous game. And he just said that was for tactics. He said that, he's got the possibility to play for England and be important for England. He just has to convince himself. He made comments about the fact that this is the best squad of players that he's worked with in his career. I know a lot of people were taking that out of context. And I think that just basically means, in terms of the technical ability of player for player, the whole way through the ranks of the team, obviously it's not the best he's had. He's been at Chelsea, he's been at Milan, he's been at Juventus. He's had some very talented players come under his tutelage. But I think what he means by that is he's got a group of players where every single one of them wants to improve. You haven't really got any big egos at Spurs anymore. Tanguy Ndombele has obviously gone out on loan. Dele Alli, for whatever reason, things didn't work out. Lo Celso wasn't getting enough game time, so I think was probably a bit sulky, and he's a quiet guy anyway. But I think in terms of the players that he's got in at the moment, what he probably means is they're buying into everything that he says. They all want to improve, and they're probably working a lot harder as a whole squad than what he's used to. And I think that's what he means by that. We'll move on to team news. So, unfortunately, Oliver Skipp is still out, as is Tanganga. He's still recovering. Reguilon is the guy that came down with COVID, which is why he wasn't in the last squad. He still didn't train yet. Well, that was yesterday. Whether he trained today or not, I'm not too sure. Was asked about the Kane back injury, because you would have seen that he was hobbling a bit at the end of the game against City, especially when he was coming over for his post-match interviews. Holding the bottom of his back was a bit sore. That looks like it's an impact injury. Conte did joke and say that, look, even if he has one leg, he has to play. He's that good a player, and Harry Kane knows how important he is to us. Then, because of how things are these days, he then had to clarify that he didn't actually mean he would force Harry Kane to play if he had a serious injury. he was talking about Højbjerg because a lot of people made a big meal out of that video on social media at the end of the game where Conte's going round congratulating the players, and Højbjerg he calls hobby. So he was going hobby, and was ignored. And it turns out, as we thought, wasn't ignored at all. It was just the amount of noise there was going on in the stadium, the excitement, the fact that he just run his socks off for a game. He just didn't hear him. They then saw each other in the changing room and celebrated together. And he said, look, he's an important player for us. He's still youngish, but has lots of experience and more experience than some of the others. Obviously, we know he was at Bayern Munich and spent some time under Pep Guardiola. Guardiola was very important in his time at Southampton, and he's been an absolute warrior for us since he's been there. So Burnley team news, they not really sure what's going on with them. So I was trying to have a look at the team news for them on Sky Sports, and what actually happened when you click on the game for Tottenham versus Burnley, it's giving you all the team news of the previous game we were meant to have that actually got cancelled because of the snow. So it was saying things like Tarkowski, Westwood are out, Rodriguez and Vidra are back, and Ashley Barnes will be out for weeks. And then when I saw our team news on there, luckily I'd already seen the Conte press conference. It was saying with our team news the fact that people like Giovanni Lo Celso are going to be out, and I was like, well, of course he's out because he's on loan. And then I realised Sky stupidly have not updated themselves from the last time we were meant to play them in the Premier League. Their form, Burnley, so they obviously beat Brighton 3-0, which was a big statement in their last game. The game before that, they lost 1-0 to Liverpool. They drew 1-0 with Man United. They drew with Watford and also drew to Arsenal. And this is their biggest problem. They're not scoring enough goals. Obviously, the last game they did put away 3, so that's a sign that things are changing. But over the course of the season, they're not scoring enough goals and they're getting way too many draws. I mean, the thing with Burnley is they're quite hard to break down, but they draw a lot of games, and that is the worry. When they've got their full line of defenders out, they're a very hard unit to break down. So that will be our biggest struggle in this game, trying to break those lines. And they play very differently to Manchester City, so they're not going to be open to be hit on the counter-attack. Like the second they lose the ball, they're going to have every man behind the ball. So it's a game where I think we have to take it to them. We have to push hard. We have to work hard. We have to be on the front foot. We can't let them in. Obviously, we've got Dier back, so the defensive line is going to be a lot stronger. But yeah, we've got the majority of our players available anyway, so I'm confident that we're going to have a very strong team out. I think Ryan Sessegnon, if Reguilon is back, probably deserves to be given another start, and I think that'll be good for his confidence, good for his development. And you know, you can use the excuse to Reguilon that you've been out with COVID. We're going to give you a chance to come into the game later on, get some minutes under your belt, and build you back in that way. And that's the way you deal with that. But yeah, exciting times. It was a very good victory against Manchester City. I'm sure you're all probably still celebrating. I've been in a good mood for the last few days because of it, certainly. And it's nice that the players are buying into exactly what Conte wants, and every single man did their job to a T. So let's hope that they've done their homework on Burnley. Conte's found a way to break them down, and we can get another victory under our belts in the Premier League. So thanks for sticking around. I will be talking to you again tomorrow before the game. So keep an eye out for that one. And then also, I've got a rehearsal tomorrow night, so I don't think I'll get a video out then, but I will get a video out as early as I can Thursday morning. And then you'll see me again Friday and Saturday and Sunday, way more than you want me to. But thanks for sticking around. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel to show your support. Help it grow so more Spurs fans can join in and watch this. I have been Kieran. Don't forget to like and definitely post your comments below. I'm loving some of the comments that are coming across. And so until tomorrow, come on you Spurs.